How you doing, guys? This is Richie. And I pulled out the Electric Black. This is a Scout Comics book. Joseph Schmalke, and what's his first name? Rich Woodall. Well, Woodall does one of the stories. Schmalke does another one. So this is it's a fun series. It's perfect for the Halloween holiday. It's kind of a mixture of Ray Bradbury's Something Wicked This Way Comes and kind of like Hyde Street. So the premise is this is a pawn shop and it's run by some, I guess you could say, evil people. They seem to be pretty evil to me. And it's just tales, they're very dark, of what's going on in this shop. It's a 4-part series, and then there was another 3-parter with a Christmas special and then a Halloween special. I'm going to try to go over all of them. So anyway, this is how it starts. So she's bored, and this guy right here, he's the owner of the shop, and he runs the show. He's the boss. And he calls her Junebug. Looks like your cries of boredom have been answered. So she's bored. He's sitting around waiting for something to happen. I like this art. I like the way it looks. It's kind of like scratchy. So anyway, we're in need of a few things, and I think we're going to be expecting some company. So they're expecting people to start walking into their pawn shop. If it doesn't put you out, I wouldn't want you feelings like you owe us anything. It's about time. Beats sitting here, dust an old drunk. So he tells her we're in need of a few things, and I think we're going to be expecting company. So he sends her out. And then he says, now then, to get ready, I expect we'll be seeing customers. So he keeps saying this, we're going to be expecting customers. So when a customer comes in, it tells a story. So here you got this junkie who just robbed a woman. Well, actually, he robbed Junebug for her purse. So he's running away and he's bugging out. He needs a fix. And he's like, only $50 and a cheap purse, a cell phone. And he says, well, at least I got that. And now he's looking for a pawn shop. Sure enough, the Electric Black is always open. This day he's looking up, you needed a pawn shop, and by God, here's a pawn shop. So he comes in. This is very reminiscent of Something Wicked This Way Comes. So he says, my sister, she's bedridden. I wanted to sell her stuff. And the owner of the shop says, his head's full of torment, a constant scream that can only be cured by drugs. Tonight, Sully Daniels will find a way to silence the cravings for good. And he picks up this little gadget here. And he says, welcome to the Electric Black. His name is Julius Black, proprietor, clerk, slave to the House of Wonders. And he tells the guy, don't worry, everyone gets what they deserve at this pawn shop. And he says, this is a very nice piece in particular, and it's some type of compass. It was rumored to be the compass used on the Orion sky before changing hands several times and landing in my shop. So here's the story. And it's called the Rat Ship. 100 miles west of St. Paul, Alaska. It's a fishing vessel. So these guys are the deckhands, and they're working the fish. They're doing their fishing. And he says, maybe I should lend these guys a hand. And he said, the wind's just changed. Storm is coming our way now. He says, guys, there's a dead rat in there. How the heck did all these rats get out here? He's like, they're alive. You got me, but you know what Pops always said? The sea provides the wanting with all they need. So that's kind of odd. Rats all over the place, huh? So they're introducing all the people who run the ship, the captain and his helpers and some deckhands. And they see another ship off on the horizon. So they're like, oh, we better, we should go check this out, but we better pull out the guns. We don't know what this is. Could be pirates, could be who knows what. So they're getting a little antsy. And sure enough, they pull out the shotguns. Now, they originally had seen someone walking around on the boat that looks like it needs to be rescued. But it was very faint and off in the distance. So they go to check it out. And he says, take it slow. Maybe there's some sort of refugees and they might be uneasy about strangers. So they all feel like something's weird. And he says, oh, damn, there's a little rat running around. So I don't like the looks of this. There's a giant hole on the deck and 1,000 red eyes. So wouldn't that tell you something right out the gate? You're looking underneath the deck and there's red glaring eyes, hundreds, thousands of them. He says, what the hell, Chuck, can you repeat that? And Chuck's not responding. I said, you won't believe this. We hit the jackpot. I don't care what's going on there. We're taking all of this with us. And it's gold. Gold bars strewn about. And they're calling it. And he said, turn that off. Don't be calling anybody on the radio. He said, looks like these rats don't want us to take the good stuff. So a rat jumps up and bites him on the neck. Yeah, shut up. You're drowning in your own blood. He's bleeding pretty bad. Look, there's Chuck. Hey, man, get over here. Some giant rat ripped out Mark's throat. We got to get him out of here. He's lost a lot of blood. Chuck, why are you just standing there, man? Didn't you hear? And then the rats had eaten the insides out of Chuck. And they're inside him, like looking through his eyes, coming through his mouth. The rats have filled up Chuck's skin. So they start shooting off rounds and gunshots. Well, one of you, please respond. And he looks over the side, and the rats are jumping in the water and going onto their boat. It's like, can you imagine, like, looking over the side of the boat and seeing thousands of rats, like, swimming towards your boat and then getting on it? And there's just red eyes everywhere. And then, sure enough, in the bottom, there's a giant rat. Blam, they blast it with a shotgun, but to no avail. Got to make it back to the wheelhouse and get away from this nightmare. And Chuck is actually walking around. The rats got him walking around. And that was the last anyone saw of the gold or the mystery ship. There's an old saying amongst seafaring people. The sea provides the wanting with all they need, and it did for the rats. So that's a good Halloween story. Back to the pawn shop. So here's the junkie still here, and he goes, I know just the thing for a patron of your caliber. He says, hey, Chief, I'm just looking to trade this stuff in. I just want some money. He goes, I think it's right here. Yeah, perfect, safe and sound. A cautionary tale for some, but I think you'll appreciate what's in this simple box. And it looks like he's getting ready to brain him with a statue. So, the second story of the issue. So, here's this guy named Bixby. And he's like a snake oil salesman. And he had ripped off a bunch of people. And it opens up with all these weird ghost-like creatures in the windows. And he's writing out like his last words. And it's telling his tale. He cheated a bunch of people in town. They chased him out. And he finds like an evil book in a dead woman's lap. So, of course, he takes it from her and starts reading through it. and he finds a concoction, a recipe for eternal youth. You know, anytime you find a recipe for eternal youth, you should definitely not take it. No good can come from it. And even like all these women I see butchering their faces and shooting plastic in their faces, they just grow old gracefully, man. We're all going to die. I'm in my 50s. You know, I've come to terms that I'm not 25 anymore. I wish I was. I miss those days, but you have to grow old gracefully. That's my advice to you youngsters. So he had an eagerness to create this tonic. So he works on it. He's got an old dog. And he gives the dog a little bit. And sure enough, the dog becomes youthful. And he said, on that day, I found my only partner and friend. Together we had discovered Bixby's Miracle Drops. So he's looking around and he sees another passage in this evil book called Beware the Blood Moon. So I guess he doesn't pay it much mind. He brings out the dog to a bunch of people in a new town, and it wears off. After a month, the dog reverts back to its old self. So he gives him, the dog, a couple more drops in front of everybody. And they're throwing their money at him. And he says, another profitable day, old boy. So he drops one of the vials. And he says, oh, the glass, watch the glass. And the puppy laps it up. But it turns him into like this demonic monster. And sure enough, he has to put him down. I was forced to do the unthinkable. But what had changed? What was different about tonight? And then he looked outside and he saw there was a blood moon. So all the people that he had taken this tonic, when the blood moon comes, this is what they turn into. And sure enough, they're coming for him. We want your tonic, give us more. And they finally break in and then they tear him to shreds. They literally gut him. So the junkie's like, how do you know my name? He says, Sully, don't worry yourself over the little things. He just told me that stuff would turn me into some kind of monster. I also told you everyone leaves with something. No way you're making me drink that. So one of the other lackeys at the pawn shop comes up from behind him and cuts his throat and then butchers him. He says, Jack, when you're finished, bring some to Roy. I imagine he's starving down there. So they're going to feed this guy to someone in the basement. I think we have a problem here. There was some type of symbol on the guy's skin. When you look at that, it's been over 300 years since we've seen that symbol. Things are getting interesting. Finished cleaning up. Looks like we're getting a rush of customers tonight. So, Scout Comics makes some good books. Schmalke is just excellent. I love all his series, and I've done, I think I've done one. Need to really take a look at 7 Years in Darkness, which is on its 3rd year. And that's a very complicated book. There's a lot of moving parts. A lot of different people. So we'll take a look at that one soon. Anyway, appreciate you watching, and I'll see you on the next one.